Classics. Not just play, but actually run Dungeon Crawl Classics. And so yeah, and this is my second Hags, Witches, and Queens.
Sounds good. And Ray.
Hello, I'm Ray. Pronouns are she or they. And I guess I don't want to use the word scholar. Trainee scholar. um, from the UK, studying queer joy, specifically with a focus on tabletop games, and how tabletop games can inspire and facilitate joy for queer players, with the hopes of making my own one eventually that can spread some joy.
Cool. And Blue.
Well, I don't know what to say now. I feel very humbled. So I'm just an old witch who has slowly started to play games with age and crustiness. So I suppose being of a generation where the games we had when we were younger were very basic. So as they progressed and as more things have become accessible, because when I kind of think about it, things like Dungeons and Dragons, I didn't know anybody who played Dungeons and Dragons when I was, and when I went off to university, there was people there who played, but they were geeky men. I don't know any women who were ever invited to that little crowd. Yeah, so it's come with age, and I suppose as well as the internet's kind of grown and grown and grown and grown, that it's been made it more accessible as well. Yeah, so that's a trajectory.
All right. And now Victor, the one who has brought us all together.
The empty nest syndrome person who has way too much time on her hand now that my child has left the nest. Yeah, I'm Victor, one of the organizers for RPG Alliance. We're currently just started our day one of our 2023 con, so thank you very much for CHAG and Joan of Arc the Destroyer and Ray and Blue Witch for joining in on this panel, Hags, Witches, and Queens. Yes, I almost forgot the order too. Part of this panel is again just getting us back from 2020 and just checking in now. We've made it through COVID, sort of made it through COVID. Things have changed. We're back to in-person gaming, sort of. And so just want to kind of touch back with you all as part of our community and just have this little reunion and grateful to have Ray as a new member of the community kind of come in and bring their perspective to everything. And just picking up on something Blue Witch said. When I was in university, yeah, there was like geeky guys playing D&D and they wouldn't let me play with them. But you know what I found? And this is when I was doing my second degree, my history degree in about 1997, 98, was I found moos and muds, multiplayer online through, text-based gaming.
Yo!
Yes, and we talked about this before, I think, Chag. And that's where I entered that world of gaming because it's the first time I was able to play with other people, not just on console by yourself. And that's where I found it through the Dragons of Pern Moo, based on Anne McCaffrey's books. There's people that made this intricate text-based world where you'd enter a room and it was all text-based and you read everything and you had to role play by typing out your narrative. And you had to become very good at typing and narrative style to role play in that manner. And it was a mix of people, and you had to be very careful, right? Because there was all ages of people, because of course, Dragons of Pern, right? But there I met someone that said, "You talk like you're an adult." I said, "Yeah, I'm like 28, blah blah blah." And they go, "You need to come to this game." And it was London by Night, a Vampire the Masquerade mud. And I went there, and holy crap, that got me into Vampire the Masquerade, the role playing game. But I never actually really played it in person until I started the Queer Questing group. I always played it on the muds for a couple of years, and then when you had your kid, you couldn't play anymore. But it was there that I found other queer people, other women, people from a lot of different communities, and I don't want to do just the stereotypical BDSM community, but they were there. Everybody was there. People from all different um, ethnic groups, whatever you want to call it, and it was all very adult. You know what I mean? And there was very strict rules about behavior, and that was when I was really thinking about first game I actually really played was Vampire the Masquerade 3rd edition. And that was my university experience. And so, yeah, so I just had a flashback when Blue was talking about that. So that's me. Went on that tangent.
That's good.
I'm gonna carry forward with that tangent because yes, I was the same way. I never really played, but came across Muds, and it was this online, it was women and men, but primarily women. And it blew me away, and it was before the World Wide Web, so of course it was all text based, right? And yeah, you're right, it so
Dial in.
improved my touch. It's so improved my touch typing. But the other thing too is many of the people who played were university, because at that time the only way you could access, because you'd have to what you call FTP, you'd have to the only way you could access this, the only technology that could access this was accessing it through university. So we all be up in the university computer labs playing Muds.
Yes. And I had a job at the social sciences building in the computer lab in the basement. So I had the keys to the computer lab. So you can just imagine all the shit we did with all our friends from Res. When we stuck booze in, we had a good time. And we were all playing these games. And we were also playing StarCraft and all that kind of stuff too.
Yep. Sorry. That was such a blast from the past, but also an interesting start from a very beginning. The very kind of beginning of online community. Yes. And having to come up with the rules, the rules around toxicity and how you manage that and all that kind of stuff. But not the way it is so now that it's almost instant. You could only do that if you got on and dealt with it, and you know how to manage it and all that kind of stuff. But that building of an online community and building it around gaming and watching women game, and not only women game but also build those games, it was awesome. Unfortunately, I only got into it like the last year of my university, so I graduated and left it all behind, but I remember that being just blew me away. Anyway, sorry. I'll let that go now.
And I'll have to say this too. It was and maybe we're getting into some adult themes because I'm tired and I'm a dirty old woman, or dirty old hag. But I have to say I didn't know anything about tiny sex, right? And I didn't know anything about Fade to Black. So Vampire the Masquerade is a very adult game. And so it was very shocking. And I'm 28 at the time. So it's not like I'm some kind of teenage kid. I've had my experiences. But then when someone says, do you want to role play this? And I'm like, oh, sure, great. Yeah, fine. It's not going to be that interesting. And then you have this, oh my goodness, what are you typing? And now I have to type that back? And oh my God. And it was my first experience with that. And I didn't like it. Well, with one person it was fine, kind of interesting. But the rest of the time it was just like, this feels weird. This feels, and then you have to kind of have your own, what will you do in a gaming scenario and what won't you do? And when does gaming become not a game? Right? And having those personal boundaries to keep yourself safe and people you're playing with safe. Right? And at the same time, it was very hard to find queer women that were also into gaming. So trying to keep a boundary so you could keep them as your friend community and not get into these online relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Because I had someone that fell in love with me from Southampton in the UK, and they wanted to come for Calgary Stampede and come to me. I'm like, no, and you're fucking married. No, this is not what this is. We're in a game. I'm not a vampire in real life. I ride a bicycle in the sunlight. It's not. Come on, snap out of it.
I know.
But then you find
Ah,
the intimacy that happens in games like that, or with online communities. And you saw this so much in World of Warcraft. I'm going back to that, and how, oh my God, if you guys were in a guild and all the drama that went in with personal guild and people mixing up, their real life feelings with, it's a fucking game. That paladin's not a real paladin. It's some kind of, it's a mechanic in San Jose, California. Like, it's and gaming's changed very much. That social component, I think a lot of people get addicted to some of that that goes
yep.
on, because that's some people, that's the only community they're able to find with and identify with. I don't know. Just throwing that out there as a topic. We don't have to talk about that. We can move on to whatever you guys want.
Well, I don't have the history of gaming that the rest of you do. I started when I was 50 years old. So that's been over 10 years ago. And yeah, I think maybe I kind of get some weird looks when I sit down at a table with my gray hair, but uh but yeah. But I think it also has introduced me to a family I never really knew I had, you know. Now I started playing D&D 3.0, 3.5. And then I was introduced to Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I first hated it. Now, I've shared this 2 years ago, but so I won't go into that. But in all of that, now I became a charter member of the Order of Shanna, and which is women, like I said, women who run Dungeon Crawl Classics, and not a lot of women were even in. So it came out in 2012. In 2017, there really wasn't a lot of women that were running Dungeon Crawl Classics, and so, there had been like I think it was 2017 when there was like 3 that were running it at Gen Con, and in 2018 then there was 7 of us actually, what I found out. But so it doubled, and Joseph Goodman of Goodman Games was like, okay, these women need to have a name. So it came up that we became Order of Shanna. Then there was Spellburn, and then there was Glowburn, and for the podcasts, and it was kind of decided then that maybe the Order of Shanna should have a podcast, and that kind of fell on my shoulders, and so I started that in 2018, I think 2019 maybe. The year before COVID, probably. I think it was August 2019 was the first episode that came out. Now this past year has been pretty full of work changes and family changes for me, and I just haven't gotten really more than maybe 2 episodes out. So hopefully 2024 will see me getting back into the road crew running of DCC in local game stores, and more episodes. So we'll see. But I don't have the longevity of gaming like you all. I kind of like jumped in with both feet and felt a bit like I was drowning. Kind of stepped away a little bit, but now I'm gonna jump back in, I think.
Well, you've got some adventures coming out that you're publishing, because you've made the transition from player, game runner to actual writer, and content
Yeah.
creator, right?
Yeah. Oh boy. I think it was 2019. I was asked to write a small adventure for Thick Skull Publishing, and it's gonna because of delays in his schedule and that. And he also writes for Goodman Games, Mr. Stephen Newton. The old if you look on the Goodman Games site and type in Stephen Newton, you'll see that he's written quite a bit for Goodman Games. But he asked me to write a small adventure for him, and finally it'll be out in 2024, hopefully early. And then Reed Sanfilippo, who has written Umerica, which started under Crawling Under a Broken Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of you will recognize that. I and my housemate was reading through that, and we got this brainy idea of possibly writing for it.
Oh, cool.
And we bit off a level 5 adventure for Dungeon Crawl Classics. Well, Umerica, and Reed got into some health.
Yeah, I saw we
issues.
donated to his GoFundMe page.
Yeah,
G Alliance. We sent in.
and he just recently they had an auction for him too.
Good.
But hopefully that will be coming out in 2024 also. And that's a full-size adventure with we did a full write-up for one of the patrons for Umerica in that. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty hefty. It's a hefty adventure, hefty module, and it should be coming on Kickstarter in 2024.
That's very exciting.
Awesome.
You're getting into that creative energy, right? And I imagine that Ray and I were talking about Queer Joy earlier this afternoon. Is that where you find your joy, that kind of creativity and the community of DCC?
Well, we went through 2020 COVID, and then in 2021, when things started to open up, I was traveling for doing work, and I got hit by a car.
Right.
And had my leg broke and some back injury, and and with aging parents, I'm no longer able to really work full time. Right. So I started looking into possibly doing some freelance writing, and that's kind of where this came.
Well, that's cool.
It was in recovering.
Cool side hustle too.
I'm sorry?
It's a good side hustle for you then too.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I can do a little bit more. I'm not working full time now. My parents are 94 years old, so I'm available for them. And then,
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. It's a tough position to be in, but I mean, gaming is always a sanctuary, I think, for most of us dealing with those kinds of life struggles, right? So
yeah.
And maybe we can get some. Anybody else want to talk about how gaming has, gaming has become something that has helped them through their lives. Jump in on that, or whatever you guys want to talk about. Blue. See?
Yeah, I was just thinking I'd got distracted on avatars.
Oh.
I'm gonna blame Victor for that. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting, really, because I have to say, I kind of had this journey of gaming through others in terms of, because I do remember, vaguely seeing Pong and stuff like that, which is really aging me.
70s baby.
But pardon?
That's the 70s baby.
70s baby.
Yeah, which and I don't think I actually saw it in the 70s. I thought I saw it in the early 80s. But I do remember that introduction to Sonic the Hedgehog and Game Boy through my nephews. And that whole sense of like, holy crap, here we go kind of thing. And also there I was as this kind of teenager, older teenager, and you got like a 6-year-old kid beating me. Like, what the hell? What the fuck's that about? Kind of thing. Yeah. And then I suppose I had a kind of dip and did other things. And then I would say it's really through CHAG more coming back into this kind of style of gaming. And then finding, yeah, blame CHAG. CHAG in this like, I want to be a geek. And you're going to come along with me.
On this geek
Come
on,
hell
on
or
the
high
geek
water.
journey, right? The geek journey.
Join
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So
Come
HAG
to the
is
dark
really
side.
on the geek thing. But yeah, so I suppose, but I think what's kind of interesting is that with doing this, like Dungeons and Dragons, and then it's sort of like, okay, that whole thing of Dungeons and Dragons going to be like evil and you'll get sucked into being a serial killer or something like that if you play Dungeons and Dragons. Wasn't there was some controversy in the 80s about that, wasn't there?
Yeah, there
it's
was.
satanic worship and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think too, though, when it came to gaming, I think when I started to see that there was freer gaming and role play gaming, I was like, oh, I could do that. Yeah, I'm into that. And I have to say that, yes, that's been quite enjoyable. And in terms of that relationship, just generally my relationship to Hag, that we actually share an interest. So that's been good. So yeah, that's kind of that whole piece. But sadly, I have to say, just on that women front, most people that I come across, meet in everyday existence don't have anything to do with gaming. I hear about their husband's game, their son's game, and, male members of the family game. But I don't know many women who are big gamers, other than what they do on their phones.
Mm-hmm. I just want to have one story to Blue Witch because it's
Really?
right.
Do I want this story to come out?
This is hilarious.
Is this going to support the relationship?
Because it's funny how you do things gaming that you wonder why. But so one of the first games, interestingly enough, one of the very first games I got Blue Witch involved with was Rust. And I don't know how many of you know Rust.
Oh, yes!
So I
Forgot about that.
I was working with somebody who had their own Rust server. So they're saying, "Oh, you got to try it." I'm like, "Okay, let's try it." And I said, "I like this." And I said to Blue, I said, "You might like this. This is kind of fun." And she got into it, and she's like, "Oh yeah!" And of course, so Rust is a survival game. You get in and you build. You start naked and afraid, and you collect and all that kind of stuff.
I was drawn to the nakedness.
As
And
we
then,
all are.
but one of the things she got really into, she says, I just want to go in and I just want to go hunt animals because you can hunt, bears and all the different animals. And I just want to go and shoot things like animals. And I'm like, you're a vegan.
Yes. Just love the hacking of the things. And I could never do, I know you got me onto Call of Duty and things, but I would just complain because it's like, well, I don't know where they are.
Yeah, the
Can't
Call of
see
Duty.
them. Where am I going to shoot these things? Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, you're dead.
You're a murder hobo.
Oh, absolutely. And that's too though with Conan. At time I just want to kill things. I am not a builder. I used to build on Rust because I got very into the impenetrable fortress. What could I do to kind of booby trap a fortress so if anybody invaded, they'd get killed. But yes, my kind of primary thing is I'm not too much of a builder in things. I just want to kill things.
Totally fair. That's a gaming style, honored and respected. What about you, Ray? What kind of games do you play? Do you play video games, or do you play with the TTRPG stuff, or what?
Well, it's interesting hearing like you guys saying about like you play games and even though like you're vegan, you want to go shoot some animals and stuff. I'm like, Because I play like Borderlands, so I'm very that kind of game. Play Borderlands, and I play The Sims a lot. But I play The
Oh.
Sims with mods and cheats so that my Sims don't die and they don't age and they're all happy and they can't have arguments. That's how I play. So I play very like, and I play like Borderlands. Well, we do play it on hard mode, but I play as there's a character called Janie Springs, and if you play as I can't remember her name, but Athena, I think her name's Athena. If you play as her, Janie Springs will flirt with you. So I play as her to do that. But I grew up with actually playing. There's a series called Dynasty Warriors, which is all about like the three kingdoms in China and like the history of China and stuff. So it's all supposed to be historically accurate, and they're all like names of officers and stuff. So I used to play that because I was a nerd and tried to learn all the names of all the officers and all the history of China. So I learned it to like basically to play the history of China, but the game itself is a very like hack and slash. So it requires no skill whatsoever. It's full on Tekken, like mashing buttons, like you press anything, like just fully. There is no skill at all. It's known as being, if you play that game, you are not a good gamer. So I play those kind of games that are like easy, or ones where I know I can make it so no one dies. Or if I play Far Cry, I will have to kill animals and I'll feel really bad about it because I am also a vegan, but I'm like avoiding it.
A vegan with
Like,
principles.
I'm a sappy vegan. I'll cry if I have to kill an animal. Like, don't make me do it. Which I find interesting now that I'm playing Cthulhu with you guys, because Cthulhu is so like dangerous. You can't play it without dying or without like having to do something.
Or losing your
So I'm
fucking
like
mind.
that. So I'm interested to find the tension between like my natural like The Sims 4 instinct of right mods so that they don't die. You know.
Always
That's
kind of calm, gentle place. And I have to say, we're playing Cthulhu in a different game, and I was killed. So yeah, you have to come to be at peace with dying. And it wasn't even me that got myself killed. It was I was away, and the person who stood in got me killed.
Well,
Oh, I
typically,
see.
nobody wants to stand in, so it. I'm sorry, is all I have to say. Nobody wants to play your character because you were already growing green scales from that serpent people venom. It's not my fault.
They had a thing against, snake people.
Yeah, they did.
So
Yes.
just to add one thing to Ray's stories, like, so I play different ones. So I play when I was playing the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I was getting into it, and I mean, and you kill various animals because you need the leather to upgrade stuff and all that kind of stuff. And so I was thinking to myself, I was trying to kill a squirrel, and then so I shot it and it died, and I went looking for it and realized I had killed the cat. And it was so devastated I had to log off.
It's
That is
disturbing.
funny.
It's
Just like,
disturbing. It's disturbing.
That is
especially,
so funny.
Conad, if you have a pet, like I had a really nice pet jaguar, and I got it killed, and I just logged off. I couldn't handle the grief, and that brings us to when video games make you feel emotion,
yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
like strong emotion and grieving too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like I mean, it's some of these things are quite hard, or even like Assassin's Odyssey, right, with having the female lead character who also has relationships, but they're not really real lesbian relationships because it's always fade to black, and there's not a big storyline, and then they do a DLC download that changes and forces your female character to get pregnant and have a man's child. Like, how do you even do that?
I hated that one. Oh,
What is
really?
that? There's such a sense of betrayal in the queer
Yeah.
community, right? Have you guys
Yeah.
played that? Have you seen that? Have you?
I did.
That was
I
sucked
love-
balls, man.
Well, so the Assassin's Creed Odyssey was one of had anyway, I loved it. I can't talk about it because the female character who played the voice character for
Great.
Cassandra.
Cassandra, yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Was it Cassandra?
Was just awesome. I don't know. I can't remember, but I remember getting the download and seeing this, thinking, this doesn't sit right. She wouldn't have done this. Come on,
No.
guys. But anyway,
She had
and
chicks on
and
every port. On every Greek island, we had a chick or two or three, or loving relationship here or there.
I played Horizon West Horizon. What is it? Where it's another world where they're hunting mechanical animals. Anyway, it's fun. It's great. It's actually really good. Horizon West. I need to find that. But I remember playing the game, and I started off where the character you're playing participates in this kind of a rite of passage for the children in the things where they go from being children to adults, and they get attacked by outside forces, and all the children are dead. And I swear to God, I saved and reloaded that game 5 times to see if I could save those kids, and I couldn't. And I fucking logged off, and I had to go away from it. I was so devastated by it. But a very well done scene to hook you and shock you and set your path for the rest of the game from a storytelling point of view. It was excellent. But oh my God, it was
Grim.
just it was brutal. It was brutal. It's funny because a coworker is also kind of a
Ray,
gamer,
you're
and she
muted if
got
you're
it.
trying to talk.
Oh, am I?
Sorry, I just thought, Ray, were you saying something? Because
Oh.
I just saw that you're muted.
Sorry.
Nope. Okay, sorry.
And I won't get into it. But anyway, she has kids, and she was playing this with her kids when this happened, and she's telling me about it, and I'm like,
No.
what about that?
No.
Totally forgot about that. And I'm like, oh, I bet you that was traumatizing for the children. Anyway, because I had totally blanked it because it was so traumatizing to me.
Block that sucker out, man.
Anyway, sorry.
And this is the person who's playing Little Nightmares.
Yeah.
That's all about traumatized children.
Yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about that game? Because you guys play that together, right? And then Blue Ritz, you give
Well,
commentary, don't you?
I give commentary, yes. So, yeah, I kind of criticize because I'm not playing, I'm just criticizing.
I absolutely suck at those type of games. And the reason why is because they're puzzle games, and you really have to. And my eye hand coordination sucks anyway, even on a keyboard. So I'm like, fuck, I'm dead. Fuck, I'm dead. Fuck, I'm dead. But so
to that death loop.
the death loop. But one of the things I found when I was streaming was that I streamed by myself for the longest time, and I'm like, I'm boring. Like, I am boring. I need another person to riff off and play the straight person with and all that. So last year I said, come on, just sit and watch and make fun of me.
Now,
Oh, and
how many
it's
times
just
did
so
she have
hard
to
to
ask you
do.
to do that? Like, did she have to beg you to do that, Blue, or did you just?
Oh no, I was like, oh yeah, I got quite excited about that of giving the commentary. And then I hadn't even seen Little Nightmares. And then so this is the first one. Hopefully the next one we can actually play together. But I just remember seeing the first one and I was like, holy crap! Is that children in cages? Is that a hanging body? Like little dead children and things and sad looking children. You're like, what is this game?
And so, what's the appeal
So
of those
yeah,
kind
it
of
was
games
fun.
then?
Hmm?
What is the appeal of those kind of games, especially to you folks? I mean, especially as women, right?
Okay, well,
where's the appeal?
the
What-
appeal, interestingly enough, it is when you describe it like this, it sounds very disturbing. But when you see the artwork,
Mhm.
I love beautiful games,
Mhm.
and and it doesn't have to be like I've got Baldur's Gate 3. I fucking love it. Like, I will play that forever. but I also love really, like, I play Journey, and I don't know how many of you guys know Journey. Journey is basically you're just this character that travels across the the countryside and dealing with various different puzzles. But it's a beautiful game, and it's, you know, and I love things that engages my mind like that. And Little Nightmares is that, and it's, I like horror movies. I like the 1980s horror films. I love ghost stories. I love stories that show you, in a sense, show you the horror of life, but also show you being resilient in traversing those horrors. So there is something about that in Little Nightmares, because it's about the way it's kind of presented is that it's actually more of a subconscious element rather than a true physical experience. So it's kind of, you know, it's those things capture me and they engage me, and so there's things like that. And there's a game where I'll look and say, oh, that looks good. That looks like it's a beautiful game. I mean, you know, Odyssey, beautiful game, beautiful world, great stories, interesting side quests, all that kind of stuff. But they don't have to be huge games. They can be small games, and I love it. Right? I remember probably the only horror game I actually played through was Prey, and Prey is set on a space station, and you're the only one, but you're dealing with an alien being that can camouflage itself into common items. And so the whole idea is to how do you deal with that? And I remember getting about 3/4 of the way through the game and thinking, I can't do it. I can't. I did finish it in the end, but I had to go away and come back. But because I'm the only one, I couldn't. I wasn't interacting with any, and I was just like, I don't want to go down that corridor because I know I'm going to die. And I'm like, put it away, and come back to it. Yeah.
When
I don't
games
know.
get too much, right? When games get emotionally too much, at least you can turn it off, unlike life. Right? And
Yes.
yet we use games as an escape from life. Escapism to
But
feel
also
something else. Go ahead.
you can choose your games though. So if you are distressed or whatever, you like switch it off. Choose whether you're going to play it or not. Unlike life.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we talk a lot about. I just want to, get on Conad and run around a different world, naked and afraid, just to forget, just to turn off from work, just to turn off and set your brain on pause to a certain extent, just as a mental holiday. There's that too, right? And gaming can take you high and can take you low, but it can also just zone you out like watching TV.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need that.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm thinking of, like, I play Red Dead, and I'm thinking how I play Red Dead 2 is mainly just walking around. If I'm honest, I'm walking around and I'm looking for horses, and I just go find horses and then go pet some horses, and that's all I do. Like, that's it. I've got all of these, like, campaigns and quests and things to do, but I'm reluctant to do it. I'm, like, barely into the plot at all, just because I like walking around and going from one end of the map to the other. And I know that you can, like, there's quicker ways of doing it, but I'd rather walk from one end of the map to the other. I don't know why. I think it's like there's part of, like, what you guys were saying about, like, the beauty of it, like how it looks, because obviously aesthetically it's a really pretty game. I think there's also something about the fact that the world it's in is just endless landscape. And I know that I kind of like I like that. I kind of want that. There's like there's like an escapism in that of, like, if I could, like, live in a world that's just endless, like, farms and stuff, I would. So I'm like, let's do it in a cowboy setting, why not? And then I get to live out my cowboy fantasy at the same time. So two wins. But it's interesting because I like, like, this idea of these games are built so that you can win them, so you can, like, kill things and, like, do campaigns and do quests. But the amount of time that I spend on things like Borderlands and Red Dead just walking around the world, not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and just having a waltz around. and it's a bit of that zoning out, but it's also just admiring the game itself and like the world it's in. Because I'm walking around thinking, oh my god, someone built this. Someone programmed this horse to do this, and someone programmed this person to talk to the like this and stuff. And every time I walk past someone, it's that action of tipping the hat and being like, hey, how's it going? Just because I'm like, someone programmed that, so I might as well use it.
I think if you're a visual learner person, I think a lot more video game players are visual learners. And I think and I think people in TTRPGs, especially, and we were talking about this before, being role players and using empathy and being able to inhabit kind of the psyche of a character that you're playing. Same thing is with video games, to inhabit a whole world, and it's very easy if you're a visual learner to just be in that world. Have that experience of just being there. Like I used to play Cyberpunk 2077 just because I want to ride my motorbike up and down the freaking freeways and then go boot up and down the beaches. And it was just about exactly that open world concept and just going exploring and seeing what was over the next hill, right? And being in that world. And I think if you're that kind of visual learner, it's very easy to lose yourself in that world. And I don't know if you guys have experiences that, but it's not like 3D technology or wearing the goggles or anything like that. It's like when you read a book and you can lose yourself in the book. It's the power of imagination, and in some people it's stronger than in other people. And I think gamers very much are in touch with that. And as much as I said empathy is our superpower, I think the power of imagination visually, in your internal vision, to connect with that world, the art, that space, the creativity of it, is really another thing that draws me, at least, to gaming. And then sometimes when you play TTRPGs, it's like better just to do theater of the mind, better to exercise that muscle of imagination. And you don't want it all mapped out. In fact, it's more fun to visually see it like a movie in your own head. And I think that's a different ability. People that can't do that aren't usually attracted to tabletop role playing, where there's only theater of the mind. I don't know. Any thoughts about that?
Well, I'm interested to hear actually what drew you guys to tabletop, because obviously we've spoken about some like digital games and like video games, but I'm interested to hear what it is about tabletop specifically and tabletop role play games that like pulls you in.
Hey, Joan, why don't you start us off on that, because you haven't had a chance to.
Yeah, I'm not really a video gamer. I mean, I was in my early 20s with the things like Leisure Suit Larry and Land of the Loungers, but it's been a long time. Anyway, what drew me to TTRPGs? Well, I think it was just so I could sit around a table with friends, like-minded, enjoy gaming. And then this was, like you said, theater of the mind, creativeness. I wanted to tap into some of that. And then when I did, something that Ray was saying, it triggered. Actually, Vicky, you were saying it too, but as I was learning to role play, I was in a game and it became overwhelming to the point that I stood up very quickly, walked outside, and was immediately in tears.
Oh.
It was I couldn't handle one of the other players constantly saying, well, I have to get up and I gotta go over and pee, and it was bodily functions. Now I'm a nurse, okay? I have to deal with bodily functions nearly every day. Other people's actually, but anyway, I didn't want to have to deal with that in a game. excuse me, but what does that have to do with our storyline, right?
Yeah.
So I became very frustrated, and again, I was new to the game. And it was before. This was definitely before we had the X card kind of stuff too,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know that I could actually just speak up and say, "Whoa, whoa, wait a minute." I did that. I did it actually in the game, and the fellow would not hear it, and I became really, really frustrated. Got up, walked out. Um, the game master um, stopped the game, and he came out, and he said, "So tell me," and I did, and he listened, and he was very, very kind. Um, but I don't think I returned to that game.
Mm-hmm.
I had to leave. Um, so what brought me back? It was my desire to be at a table with friends and play a game, and my desire yet to understand what role playing is all about, and the character, I rolled up this character. It has these stats. How does these stats work? How do they, you know, what makes it when I roll a d20 that this works and that doesn't? And then, rolling that 1 and rolling that 20, there's this thing, about whether you hate your dice or you don't hate your dice, that kind of thing. And I remember the name of my very first character. um but it was she a very good character? mm, I probably she could have been, but never went back to her. So it's just being around, for me, being around a table with friends and gaming. um yeah. Mhm.
CA, what
But
about you?
wanting it to be comfortable, there you go. Yep, I think that's.
Yep.
And wanting it to be comfortable for me, but also comfortable for others at the table. Because what if I would have been sitting at the table and it would have been someone else who got up, walked out, and had been as upset as I was? What would have I done in that situation? And I'm glad that the GM was with it enough that he just didn't, you know, he's, oh yeah, well that's her, we don't need her at the table, that kind of thing. You as a player, you want the person who's guiding the game to be compassionate. Um, you want them to want every player around their table to be comfortable, um, and to have a voice, to play in their zone. How about that?
Yeah, very good.
Hmm. I mean, I think what drew me. I mean, honestly, the reason why I got involved with D&D was that Vixter had done the RPG Alliance group and was doing this meetup and was doing kind of an intro, and I came across, and I was trying to, you know, you get to this age, you're trying to figure out ways of making kind of social connections with people, and I thought, well, I've always wanted to learn how to play it, so why not? And it was interesting because I remember starting it and thinking, oh, I like this, but how do I role play? Because you go, I think, especially at this age, it's like, how do you let go of the social conventions and play?
Mm.
And that is, you are, in role playing, you're playing something. And so I probably came off very stiff for that first session, right? Or that, even that first campaign. And now I love it. And we just rolled our Call of Cthulhu characters this past week, and I was telling Vixter how much it's like, yeah, because I'm like, it's like, you know how artists, especially sculptors, will say they'll start working on the stone, and the
Yes.
character comes out, and that's the way it is. Like I have these numbers, but then you start thinking, okay, well, wow, and then it builds, and then, oh yeah, and then there's this backstory, and there's this and this, and you don't want to build too much of a backstory, because I also did that one time, and it's like, well, why? Because you're just gonna die anyway. But you end up with this backstory that makes this character very interesting. And it's funny because Blue, and I kept saying, Blue, I think you're gonna really like this, because Blue has an artistic background. She likes storytelling. She likes story writing. And I'm like, you're going to love this. Trust me. And, you know, and so I got her involved, and I did DMing on a couple of stuff, and I DM'd this one game, and, I just saw her riffing off one of the co-play, another player, and they created this scene together that just was beautiful and organic, and it was like, wow, this looks so much fun. You know, and I think she's enjoying it now, but I'm gonna let her tell her story. But that's how I come to it too.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. I'm going to hold on to that one there, Hag. Beautiful moment. That wasn't the pub one, was it?
Yes, it was.
And I had to get something out of a head or something.
Yep, fish
It
head.
was, yeah, it was a bit grim.
It's your Icewind
Anywho,
Dale campaign.
Yes, it does.
yes. And I think for me, because one of the reasons, see, I liked Rust and I like Conan, but I have a very short tolerance to be able to sit playing a game on a computer. And yeah, I put that down to the ADHD, but I that's why, you know, I do like when I play, but again, I'm always saying to Marie, you know, to Hag, I want out of the game, and it takes me too bloody long now to get out of the game, so I get really frustrated with it. So that's why I like the ones where I can just quit, because I'm like, I'm done, okay? And sometimes when I play with Hag, I'm like, just let me know when we're ready to play, because it's not always quick. And I have to say, I get very dependent on Hag, and I'm like, you know, she kind of sets things up and stuff. I didn't mind Rust though. Rust, because as I say, I got very tactical, and I was going to be very like, you're not going to get my stuff. Let's see whether that works. But so I find the tabletop games, they're not as, they don't work on the same thing. So I'm not kind of strapped to a computer. I'm not just sat there. I find that they engage me more because I have to think more about what I'm gonna do. That kind of creation piece, or what am I gonna say? So that's what I find engaging, and I have much more ability to kind of sit and focus and do that. And I think especially when you're playing with a group of people who actually to fully participate in the actual role play stuff. Because we played some D&D games where there's the folks who are very focused in on the actual rules and doing things and the spell casting, and so perhaps so you find the campaign and it becomes very much focused on those kinds of things. But I have loved when you actually play with someone who really is in the character and fully kind of acts that piece and role plays that piece. So, you know, even if you're using all the things that come with the game, they are that character kind of stuff. It makes it more fun because then too you interact. Because I've had one of those mild complaints to Hag where we did campaigns, and I'm like, there's no sitting in the pub just conversing. Just interacting, where in fact your character can grow and really kind of show off some of those things, you know. So yeah, and I like to have these characters, or in those things, I like to have those characters that are just a little quirky. Just I think I was a barbarian. Was I a barbarian one? But I was a gnome. So I was a barbarian gnome.
That was great. That was a great character.
Yeah, so these kind of contradictions and things, which then very much depend on those having some good role-playing interactions with folks, kind of thing. Yeah, but I think that's how I kind of initially got into it, was that ability to kind of generate the direction of the game and then that participating piece.
I think one thing I liked about when we played last weekend was when I said, "Okay, I need we're cops and we're gonna bust our actor friend," and I said, come on, Blue Witch, good cop, bad cop, let's go." And you just dove right into that, and that's the power of improv too, right? You're amazingly good at improv and just thinking on your feet and keeping in that character and just going for it. And all of a sudden, you were this New York cop shaking down this alcoholic actor in a speakeasy and got us a free car from that bastard.
I
And
did.
Tom, we do love you, so don't worry. But you went for it. Like you were committed and went to the top, and we had a good time with it. And it was like those moments, like TTRPGs are those moments. The best moments are when people go on full hog, like you said. Someone is committed to their character, not min maxing, not just thinking about the rules and how to win the game. And something Ray said earlier about how women play games to a certain extent, to have the feelings and the experience as that character, even if you lose the game, but to be fully committed to that creative process and being in that moment, in that interaction, playing it like it's a real person, and having the feels from it and the laughs from it, right? And the tears from it, right? And it is a form of adult play. And we did this as children, and TTRPGs are a way of doing it as adults, right? And we did it. We did it as kids. And it's something we all know how to mimic to a certain extent. That's ingrained in us as humans, as primates. And that play is like, I think the key component is we all need play. We need community, but I think we all need play. And as we get older and become adults and responsibilities of aging parents, of our own health concerns, raising our own kids, dealing with friends that are suffering from whatever, like the hard parts of life, holy fuck, we need to play. And it's about, and if we talked about queer joy earlier with Ray, queer joy is definitely in many, play is a form of queer joy, I would say. Absolutely. And yet you can have a good book sometimes is very satisfying. Like when you, and we'll just go back to you, Liz, or anybody really, because I think I've killed Liz and Seahag. I'm sorry, Blue and Seahag several times in total party kills, and I'm really sorry for all those deaths. But character death.
Okay, we can only blame ourselves.
Never be sorry about it, TPK. Ha ha ha.
I don't know, and I think and I think Joe mentioned it with the first character too. There's your first character, or the first really an important character, and when that character dies, and you go through a very real feeling of grief that's cathartic in many ways. And I'll just say, throw it out there. I had a vampire character, a male lawyer, and he was blown up with a gasoline tanker because he was a vampire. And I could not get over that. I could not get over. And then he was turned into a wraith and had his. And I couldn't get over losing that character. So I had to stop playing that particular game. I could not get over his death. Right? And so, yeah, does anyone want to talk about maybe that, like the strong feels you get from a game, or even character death, and if you have any kind of like cathartic experience that you've had in a role playing game?
I think, and pending, but I think the recent death with Katrina, was it Katrina?
Katerina?
Whatever.
The
Katerina.
gun runner from Spain?
Like I can't even remember her
Femme
name. But
fatale?
yeah, the femme fatale, and I don't normally. It was a different one for me to play femme fatale, and she died. And I think I think what that connection, not necessarily grieving and fully getting, but was the disappointment of who she could become. and this sense that you actually put pieces into this character that you pull from your own history or knowledge or experiences, and you're like, okay, here's this new character. How can she grow? She's growing. She's doing this, and you're kind of it's just like such optimism, and it's like she's dead. That's it, gone.
And the
You know,
journey,
and
yeah,
so
the
you
journey ends, right? What could have been?
yeah,
What could have
and you
been?
have that feeling of like, oh, sort of cut off in the prime of her life.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that kind of feeling.
Well, for me, it was my first character didn't die. My first character, her adventuring ended, and it was like I never got to know how much better she could have been. Um, so either with the character dying in the adventure or never getting to adventure again. Um, it was like, okay, we're moving on, create another character, and I'm like, no, no, this is my first I want to continue to play this character. What are you talking to me? No, 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 no. We're moving on to a different adventure, a different time, a different place. Let's yeah. Oh. I mean, that just, it's heart goes to the stomach.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think the character necessarily has to die for you to feel that grief.
Mm-hmm. It's like you're in relationship with your characters to a certain extent, right?
But yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Sihai.
Sorry. There's two things I wanted to add. One was it's interesting about the whole character dying, and one of the things I've learned both at playing and being a DM is how important the chemistry is with the group of people you're playing with.
100%.
You know, and sometimes and not to say that you just want to play with people you like, because sometimes it's good to meet new people. I wouldn't have met half the people I know through tabletop if I was just kind of limiting myself to a group of friends per se. But I remember playing one where one of the characters took the game totally somewhere else, and they drove it to their they drove it to their character without thinking of the broader things. And I remember thinking, what about my character? I had a life. You've taken me to another fucking plane. God damn it. And I remember being really, but still being very disappointed by it. But anyway, but the other thing was, and remember this, Vixter, in that game where my character turned evil.
That was so good. It was the finale of Tombs of Annihilation, and you were facing the lick, and it was the grand finale. Holy fuck, that was fun. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are you mad about me about that?
And so no, I became evil. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, the finger of death spell, which made you die, and then you came back as the licked minion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that shocked the shit out of everybody. And I wasn't planning particularly you. I just knew I wanted one of you. But because your character, the paladin, has such a close relationship with John's character, the cleric, and you guys had worked for over like 2 years on that relationship, and
we had a fun, great relationship.
Yeah, all of a sudden you were evil. Oh,
I was evil. Oh yeah, I was so evil. I went.
But I'm not sure how angry you guys were about that.
Well, I mean, I wasn't angry. I know there was other issues there, but from my perspective, it was I just turned and I loved it. I took this character, not knowing where it was going, but I took it, and it took me somewhere. It took me somewhere dark. Probably tells more of me about me than anything else. But it was fun to play the opposite of what I had been building my character to be. rather frightening how quickly I turned on. But and it was interesting. Again, it's interesting to see these little characters inside of you come out and become something. And you're like, where were you? Where did you come from? Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it interesting between Hag and Blue because you're partners when you guys play together in the same game? Do you ever like look at each other and go, "Where did that come from?" Because you've been together for over 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Do you like,
Yeah.
where the fuck did that?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I mean, she'll do things, and when I said I remember saying this in one of the games we played when she was the femme fatale and I was I can't remember what my character was like.
Archaeologist.
It was oh yeah, I was an archaeologist, and we were struggling with this snake, and everybody kept missing their roles, and it was on me, and she was going to. So she says, "I'm going to grab that snake. I'm going to take a grenade, pull the pin with my teeth, stick it in the mouth, and throw it away." And I thought, well, it'll either go well and it'll be fabulous, or it'll go bad and it'll be fabulous. and I mean, but and there are times when she does sing it, I'm like, oh, I know where she's going with this, and then she'll come and do this, and I'm like, where the hell did this come from? Yeah.
What about you, Blue? In regards to like Hag and
Oh,
playing with Hag?
she had to step away. She'll be back in
Okay.
a few minutes.
Because that's an interesting thing. I think it's a unique thing playing with your partner. I'm not sure everyone does that or not. And I don't think I've ever played a game with my
Oh yeah,
partner.
my housemate and I play together all the time. Well, not all the time. She's in a campaign on Sunday mornings. I originally was in there, and then we played a little bit together, and then I left it. And but I think it's a good thing too that you don't play in every game together. Um, and then but we did write the level 5 Umerica, the Blackest Friday. That's the name of the adventure module. The Blackest Friday. We wrote that together. And well, okay, so the grief about characters and stuff, I think what changed me in a way with regard, I mean, I remember the first character I had, and I just like, they don't necessarily have to die for you to, but I just last March, I and my housemate and another good friend from the same local gaming group were at GaryCon when we received the news that one of our longtime players in our group took his life.
Oh God.
And that, that really changed. It somewhat changed the way that we play now. And the way we look at things a bit now. And I know that there's other gaming groups that they've lost a player that way. They kind of came a bit out of the woodwork at GaryCon for us and was a support. And that's the other thing too, is you just don't. I mean, the depth of the gaming family, TTRPG family that you have, but you don't know the depth of the family until something tragic like that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So I just don't look at, characters dying or going away as the same as I did, having lost a player,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
that way. So.
Wow.
Sorry.
No. Don't be sorry.
Bringing that down.
It's very real because ultimately, yeah, we play together, but we're each real human beings,
Mm-hmm.
right? and we each
Yeah.
struggled to get through this life. And there's
Yeah,
different ways that we do
you know, it's an
to get through.
outlet for us. Role playing in that it is an outlet for us. But again, just to know what's going on around your table. You're there for a purpose. You join the group for a purpose, and sometimes it's more than just playing the game. And to be aware of that, and being, you know, open and caring in a way. The reason we're getting together and why they're there every game time, you just don't know sometimes the you know, the depth within that character, or within that, I'm sorry, not character, within the player, as why they're coming to the table and what their deep down desire is to be at the table with those friends, with the friends around the table. Some people take it much more seriously than others.
Very true. Very true.
Yep.
And again, that kicks into community and finding that social interaction that we all need as human beings, right? And finding that support where we can. It's very much everyone comes to the table with different reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been an hour and 11 minutes. I think any kind of final things anybody wants to just kind of wrap up, any announcements for their own stuff?
Yeah, I want 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes, but I just want a few minutes to say to people I am giving away Cyberpunk Red Compendium Roll 20. You need to put in chat !tags with an S. You'll be entered in, and then Nightbot will do its duty and choose one person to win it. You will need to DM me your roll. The winner will need to DM me their roll 20 email address. So just do that over the next 5-10 minutes, and I will pick a winner after that. But remember, and you guys can do too as well. So feel free, if you're a panel and watching my stream, !HAGS. That's it for me.
Right, and don't forget, RPG Alliance Con, we do some charity work, and this is a charity stream specifically focused on the Calgary Centre for Sexuality. So if you go to our Canada Helps page, you'll see it there, and if anyone wants to make a donation to add, we're right now with our Canada Helps drive, we have a goal of $2,000, and today we've raised $830. And then on our American Tiltify fundraiser for World Central Kitchen, of our $1,000 goal, we've got $285 on day one of the con. So anybody that wouldn't mind contributing to that would be great. And I really appreciate the panelists for coming and being part of this stream. And hopefully we can raise some money for some good charities and do some good work as well. But yeah, so that's kind of my show. But I think, Ray, you had some stuff. Did you want to just mention what you do and what you may be looking to connect with people about in your academic stuff?
Sure, yeah. So I'm studying and doing a project on queer joy and queer joy in tabletop games. So I'm looking for research participants or anyone who is who plays tabletop games, even if you hate them. I'd be interested to, even if you played it once and you're like, nah, it sucks, I'd be interested to know. Controversial opinion. But especially queer players. If you want to talk about queer stuff, I'm your gal. I'll listen. So yeah, email me. It's RABU J001 @gold.ac.uk. Heck of an email address. And yeah, I'd love to chat and get some info and just some stories from people and their experiences.
that sounds like I wish we had things like that to study when I was doing my university degree. But no, we were
Oh,
doing yeah.
I'm
Go
I'm
ahead.
very lucky. 90% of my cohort are queer, so I'm extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So
90% of mine were all left a lot to be desired.
Oh, Blue. They
Yeah.
when you were out with the dog, they asked about the whole issue of you and I playing tabletop and whether that's being the whether that has any interesting effects in the real world and in the tabletop world.
I don't think it necessarily has much in the way of effects of the real world. You did tell me to stop picking on you, though, in Cthulhu.
I did.
So I think a certain amount of familiarity means perhaps, yeah, you can be a little bit more pointed
ooh.
in some of the things that you kind of pick on, or like, and even that I know Hag doesn't like spiders, so doubling up on that spider talk and things. Yeah, I think that's kind of the impact.
Wow.
Well, Victor, I want to thank you for inviting me back, and also for all the work that you do for RPG Alliance. Really, really appreciate that. That's
Yep.
amazing.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, some years are better than others. Some years we get more players, and it seems like every year there's something really cool that comes out of it, and then something that's a little bit disappointing or something that's changed. Because every year it's different, and I guess I just want to say my gratitude to having you folks come back year after year. That's what makes it good for Trevor and I. We kind of do it because it's our once a year thing where we get to see all our friends from around the world and give them stuff, give them prizes. Yeah, it's just it's different from having just your local home gaming group because when you do something like this, right? And it's just us. It's not like the big places like Gary Con or Gen Con, and it's not a corporation. It's just me and Trevor and our friends that help us. You know, and then the really it's a it really is about friendship. It's about sitting in the lounge and seeing everyone and talking about your favorite dice and making jokes about staying up too late or needing caffeine because you ran 3 games. You know what I mean? It's about just getting together, but in more than just one game and one group. And it's also about meeting other people and making those connections, even if it's this online portion. Because I would never speak to Ray in person because we live in different continents. Or I've only gone to Indiana once, and that was, you know, to run D&D in Bloomington. So, yeah, I would
Bending.
vote Democrat. Um, you know, so it's that kind of thing, right? It's grassroots, and we do say it's just ordinary people getting together to hang out with each other.
Right.
That's all it is. It's just me and Trevor. Like maybe we need better friendships. I don't know, but we get them through you guys, and we're really happy to see all you. I can't tell you, Trevor and I sit there and like, oh my god, so and so's back. Oh my god, this person's back. Oh my god, this person's running this. We have so much fun seeing that. There's so much amount of I guess I'm going back to queer joy because that's the theme for today. But it does fill your heart like the Grinch at Christmas time. Like in your heart gets bigger and bigger. Every game that comes in, every person that says yes to this experience, every person who cancels the game because they don't have enough players and they go and they play in somebody else's game and something they never normally would have had or ever try and they had fun. That's just all of it. I can't even explain. Um, Gratifying is not the right word. I guess joy is the right word. So yeah, so as much as we put into this, we get that back. So thank you, each of you, for giving that and creating that because it really is nothing without everybody that shows up. So thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
Yes. And thank you.
Thank you, CHAG, for hosting this on your wonderful Twitch stream. Please, anybody, give her a follow. And if you're watching on Facebook, come over to Twitch to CHAG16 and follow the Twitch channel, right? You play Monday and Wednesdays sometimes, and you guys do once a month cooking with Blue Witch.
Oh yeah,
on
Blue Witch
Saturdays.
does the cooking. We're doing a cooking stream. Plus, we do Call of Cthulhu on the 4th. What
Saturday?
days of the month?
Fourth Saturday?
First Saturday. One of the Saturdays of the month.
Fourth Saturday? Yeah.
Fourth
And Ray's
Saturday. I
joining
think.
us with our excursion into Call of Cthulhu, so that's fun.
I did want to say I love Call of Cthulhu. I love Call of Cthulhu. I love it because there's so much RPG. There's just not RPG. There's so much role playing in it. There's just you could take that anywhere you want. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I didn't even think I could. I have the chops for it, and I do.
Well, then you need to make sure you connect with Ray so that you and Ray could talk about it more, right? Because I think Call of Cthulhu has kind of been inspiration.
And I also heard your Joy one, which was a great pop up, and I'll tell you all about Baldur's Gate 3.
Please do, please. I need to absorb everything I can so that I can get that before I buy it.
You get
So,
laid
yeah.
by everybody.
Really excited.
Everyone goes happy.
What did?
It's free love. It's a hippie D&D. Love child.
Sounds like my kind of game.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk.
Nice.
All right.
I think we're ready to wrap.
We're ready to wrap. Just one thing for my crew, for my Twitch stream. I am playing some games this weekend, tomorrow. I think I will be streaming some of them. I need to double check. But I am also doing a social pop-up at 1 p.m. tomorrow, Mountain Standard Time, called Listen to me. Sea Hag Shanties. That's what I'm doing. Sea Hag Shanties. It's about, it's kind of similar to this, talking about women playing, streaming, older women, and I don't know. It'll be one of those things where whoever shows up and chats, it'll be whoever shows up and chats. That'll be cool. So come and try it. Come and check it out.
Awesome.
That's me.
Thank you, everybody. Hopefully we'll see you next year. Be well.
Take care, guys.
Be well. Much love. Thank you.